joining us now from The Athletic. What up, Benny? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right, fellas. How about yourself?
Good, brother.
We are good, dude. We are good. Oddly busy last 24 hours in Commanderland. The Jason Wright news and the Johnny Newton news. We'll start with Wright. You know, what do you make of his, a gradual exit from Washington?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, we've all kind of, a lot of us have heard this was coming to some degree, over the course of this year. Look, they've made a bazillion changes in the organization. And while most of them have been on the football side, eventually Josh Harris is going to start working on the business end. And that became, what's going to happen to Jason Wright. And I think we all kind of knew this was coming. The question was, how would it unfold, that he's going to stay through the year? Maybe a little surprising to an extent, but, ultimately it's clear there's a new path headed, and we'll see what that means in terms of who Josh Harris wants to bring in to eventually take over that role.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you agree with this, but I want to get to a world where we don't care about the team president. Like, Jim Van Stone, rather, runs the Wiz and the Caps, and I don't think we ever talk about him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't even know I know Rizzo. I don't know who the team president is for the Nats. Do you?
No, I don't. It's funny. I was in Vegas for the NBA Summer League and talking, there to see some of the Wizards games, and we were talking about they've obviously made a lot of changes in their organization, and when Tommy Shepard was the GM, Brett Greenberg, who has been in the organization a long time, was the number 2. So the assistant GM. And we had, and several of us had to ask the question, wait, is he still in the organization? Turns out, no, he's been gone for a few months. And I bring this up to say, that's the assistant GM. Imagine for the Commanders, the people worried about whatever position Brian LaFemina had, or anybody who leaves the organization. Historically, it was viewed as some crisis. Oh boy, here goes somebody else.
Right.
So yeah, to your point, I don't need to know what's going on and things that don't involve the GM, the coach, and the staff. Everybody else, go do your job, and then hopefully we don't have to hear about you too much.
It's because we've had such a bad team and stuff so long that people care about everything else.
It's because of Dan, really.
Yeah, but I'm serious. If they were winning, even Dan would have been put on the back burner.
Right.
And that's the whole thing where we can sit here and we talk about all those things. The only thing that matters mostly is winning. If you win, I guarantee you nobody will care who the hell the president is. Nobody will care. Jack Kent Cooke wasn't a perfect gentleman, okay? And did you talk about Jack Kent Cooke a lot?
What is the crazy story? His wife got
she was
handcuffed to a mailbox in Georgetown or something?
She was on the hood. But the ultimate thing is, we didn't care about. Nobody cared about that. They cared about people who were going to playoffs, trying to win Super Bowl. And I think that's the ultimate thing. You got to get to that point.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, obviously, Jason Wright was in a unique situation because the owner was a recluse. Jason Wright immediately became, along with Ron Rivera, sort of, the face of the franchise. He's the one who was tasked with talking about anything business related. And look, let's just be honest. Jason didn't mind being in front of a camera or doesn't mind. So, he was out there a lot, and that put him front and center far more than we would have under normal for a normal team, because there would be some type of, GM or the owner, the owner as well,
right,
leading such discussions. But here, Jason was given that assignment, and plus, obviously, a very compelling story. The first black team president in the NFL, the youngest team president at the time, et cetera. So he was a unique person on top of the fact that, we are crazy with knowing everything about this organization at all times.
Yeah, I look forward to that not being the case, frankly. One thing that actually matters from a football perspective, we're talking with our friend Ben Standig, covers the Commanders for The Athletic. You can give him a follow at Ben Standig or check out his podcast, Standing Room Only. I think BMitch was just on it. From a football perspective, if you care about winning games this fall, the far more important news that emerged from Ashburn over the last 24 hours is that second-round pick rookie Johnny Newton opens the season on the NFI list. Considering he had surgery in late April or early May, I don't think this should be that big of a surprise. What do you make of it, Benny?
Yeah, not a surprise. I mean, once we heard he was going to be, he was having the surgery in May. Based on what we had been told about the procedure he had in January and the recovery time for that, it seemed reasonable to think he would miss some, if not most, if not all, of training camp. We don't have a timeline yet. Dan Quinn will speak next week when training camp officially opens. So we'll see how willing he is to give us a real update. So at the moment, I guess I'm not too concerned. At the same time, obviously having two procedures on both feet, not ideal. But they did the second one as a bit of a preemptive move, so he could potentially be ready for the start of the season rather than it lingering and then having to have the procedure in season. So hopefully that action benefits the player and the team. And obviously, I think Johnny Newton has a chance to be a pretty big impactful player this year, not only as sort of the third defensive tackle, but maybe even a guy who can, play significantly with Allen and Payne, because it's not like that other, that second defensive end spot's kind of open. And if Newton is able to come in and be significant help right away, I could see him playing with those other guys. So he could be a pretty good weapon for them right off the bat, but we'll have to check out his health first.
Level of concern that he had to get the surgery, like just all of it.
I mean, it's never great to hear about these procedures. For some reason, like the Jones, whenever you talk about the Jones fracture, I'm always like, ooh, that doesn't sound great. I don't like when they have names.
Yeah.
If it's got a name on it, it means like it was, at some point somebody just had to really solve a problem here.
But see, the Jones is not serious like the Liz Frank.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they say.
Let's hope. That's what we hope. That is, like, we know he slid a little in the draft because of the injury. The only thing that catches my eye is that then the other foot had the injury also. But he also played through the injury at Illinois, and the tape is what matters most, and it was fantastic. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's really reason for alarm. They certainly don't seem alarmed, but I can't shake, dude, the history of second-round picks over the last 10, 15 years is such a bizarre. I mean, you're talking different GMs, different coaches, now different owners. We'll see.
No, look, I mean, there's no question. Just even in his own position room recently, a second-round pick at defensive tackle has barely gotten on the field in his first two seasons. So I think it's reasonable to be a little gun-shy, especially at that spot. But I think I'll say this, if we're being like super honest, certainly they want him to play this year and be helpful and all that. Okay. But I think ultimately for me, I think what Johnny Newton represents is what is he able to show that then tells Adam Peters and crew what they need to do with Jonathan Allen here at some point, because Jonathan Allen's contract, 2 years left, but there's no guaranteed money. The defensive tackle market's just gone up and up since he signed his deal a few years ago. So at some point there's got to be a conversation. Are we giving John Allen an extension? Does he get released after the season? I think a lot of that's going to hinge on what do they get out of Johnny Newton and what do they see? Is he a legit replacement or where is he at? So I think that's a huge part of where Newton's at. So it doesn't necessarily mean for me week 1, week 2, whatever. But at some point this year, does he show them, hey, he's a guy that we can rely on, or boy, we got some more questions here. Let's figure out what do we do to keep John Allen.
Well, dude, at some point, John Allen's probably going to have some questions. Like, yo, I'm making significantly less than everybody at my level in the market. You know what I mean? And oh, by the way, I don't have any guaranteed money. Like, whether either Johnny Newton answers the question for them, but John might have his own questions. I think a year from now, that could be a pretty interesting discussion. What is at least, whether it's real or not, it's at least an interesting discussion point is the Brandon Aiyuk stuff. I don't really think it's happening. Maybe that changes. Where are you on the most annoying story of the summer?
Aiyuk?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't comprehend why San Francisco is going to trade him And while there's two obvious ties here in Jaden Daniels played with Aiyuk in college, and Adam Peters was with the 49ers when they drafted Aiyuk in the first round. Those are compelling reasons, but I just thought, it still makes no sense for Washington to not only acquire a player that's going to cost an immediate, very expensive extension, but you'd have to give up draft picks to do it. That's just the opposite of where they are right now. They didn't perform that way in the offseason, doing bad deals or reckless moves. And I think they're setting themselves up to see where they are next year. Does Jaden Daniels, have that sort of CJ Stroud-ish type year that they can then say, okay, let's spend money while he's on this rookie deal and make moves. But there's no reason to do that now until you get a better feel for your whole team. They need, as we know, offensive tackle, probably another pass rusher at least, maybe even a corner next year. So you don't want to trade away any assets or burn any money until you know where you're at. On top of the fact that, me personally, I just don't want to pay two wide receivers a ton of money. And if you give Aiyuk, $28, $30 million a year, Terry McLaurin's going to be in the same spot that we just mentioned with John Allen a year ago, where he'll be going into the last year of his deal. I believe no guaranteed money at that point either, et cetera, et cetera. So it doesn't make any real sense. I will say that on The Athletic today, we have a story up. They asked a bunch of us to weigh in on this, and I was tasked with having to suggest a trade. So I did, but yeah, I don't really see it.
I don't really see it either. You're actually a really good person for this. I feel, B, are you just Googling this? B's got all these answers all of a sudden.
Now I'm know people that are popular, and I started looking for their number.
So, I want to give credit to the person that sent this to me. Apparently, Joe Haberman, shout out to Habes59, sent me this thing that in Boston, some content creator came up with a list of 0 through 99 of numbers affiliated with players, right? This is not a new idea. It's probably been done on this station for all I know, but we're going to do it right now. The ones that immediately jumped to mind for me were OV, Doug Williams, Sean Taylor. You have any obscure ones for us, Benny?
Well, I did see your tweet about this, and
this is right up your alley, dude.
Well, in 2020, when we were all scrambling for content during the pandemic, myself, Grant Paulson, and Tarek El-Bashir did exactly this.
Okay.
Yeah, we sat down, nerded it out. I got scolded repeatedly by mentioning people who played in the 70s or 80s, and
I'm going to put you on hold real quick. There's no way you're not Googling stuff, because in the last 5 minutes, BMitch has come up with Ben Olsen, Christy Tolliver, and Marcin Gortat.
I thought of the name, and I thought of a name, and I looked for the number.
But you thought of Gortat?
Yeah.
See, I hadn't gone that deep. I had to look up Russ Grimm's number, but I
had to look up number 68.
Yeah, I wrote him down. I didn't have to look up Santana's number.
Fan?
Dude, I didn't remember. 66 was a Jacoby. I didn't remember Russ Grimm's number. I also barely saw him play, Brian.
Yeah, but he was killing people.
I barely saw him.
All right.
I only remember
ask your friend
the
Ben.
90s
He's old
season.
enough.
Well, Ben's already telling us he's already done this. He's calling us late to the party. Give us the obscure ones.
I will put this out there. Well, I just looked very quickly just to make sure I had this right. Number 30, we did properly give to the great Brian Mitchell, so there is that.
Landfill thinks it should be Trung candidate.
Landfill should be shot.
I said Troy Apke.
I got a question for y'all. Who do we put for number 23? Michael Jordan or D'Angelo Hall?
Great question. I'm pretty sure I was anti-Jordan on this one, but hold on. I'm saying
in DC. Come on now. Think about that.
It's fair. Well, dude, I think the number 3 is a fascinating battle. If we're going to use local colleges too, because these guys all were here. At number 3, Allen Iverson, when he was at Georgetown, was electric. Juan Dixon won a title. Juan Dixon won a title.
League MVP.
Mark Mosley was an MVP of the NFL, and they had Brad Beal.
Well, Brad is not beating those people.
He got the most money.
But
although Mosley's got that 5 guys.
The problem today is that money is like people consider the best. No. You're not the best just because you got the money.
What's your vote at number 3, Benny?
Well, who did you, JP, who did you say besides Beal?
Beal,
Iverson,
Iverson,
Juan
Dixon,
Dixon.
and Mark Mosley.
Yeah, there's also Mark Mosley, an MVP, Scott Stevens.
We just said Mark Mosley.
Man, what were you for the last like 2 seconds?
I'm looking at my phone trying to pull up my article to weigh in because my brain doesn't work. I don't remember anything anymore. Boy, yeah, that was one of the ones I noticed we had like sort of a debate format because there was a lot of options. I think I'd probably go, as I sit here right now, with Juan Dixon because of that. He was
championship.
The leader of the one title. I mean, no disrespect to Mosley, but obviously that team won multiple Super Bowls, and for Maryland that was the one. And even getting there the previous year, Dixon was the best player on that team as well. So I'll go with him. But obviously,
Mark is the only kicker ever to get league MVP.
It's still
That's
it was
stunning
right in the moment
bro.
and bizarre all these years later.
And he's working with 5 guys. We all get to enjoy that.
Yo, shout out if the Mosleys are listening, we could use some 5 guys. Just saying.
Today.
Like right now. I think 23's got to be D Hall, dude. The MJ Wizards era was.
Hey man, I would say this. You can say what you want about MJ's era with the Wizards. Chinatown got built because of MJ.
1223 was popping.
I'm just saying.
The top floor at 1223 was popping.
I think I fell in there a couple times.
I imagine you did.
24, Champ Bailey.
Is there a different 24? Champ was here for what, 3 years?
Don't care.
He
was
great,
damn good while he was here.
But he was great in Denver.
He was still great there too.
Another good one is number 11. You've got Mark Rippon.
Yeah.
You've got Ryan Zimmerman.
Elvin Hayes.
You've got Elvin Hayes. You've
Elena
got Elena
Delle Donne.
Donne.
That's a pretty good one. I mean, all those people were involved with obviously titles or long-time figures around here.
Are we counting Virginia?
Like UVA?
Yeah.
Kind of far away.
Ty Jerome. Don Staley.
You are Google. How did you come up with that?
I just saw a name.
No, Landville, do you think BMitch has a list of famous numbers or something going on?
Yeah, I always think something.
Yeah,
we all got to find out the list.
I'm just saying you got to. I think you got to like
get
think
26
of it.
up here.
26 is Portis to me. I think that's an easy one.
Yeah.
I think when you could think of them off the top of your head, that's when it's kind of a given.
All right, well, you Maryland people, give me a 25.
91, Kerrigan, whoever put that in, that's a very good one.
25.
I don't know why you're getting mad, Landfill. We're talking about it with Ben. Yeah, but there's 100 numbers. We're going to be good. Benny, we got to run, man. Thank you for the time.
See you guys.